welcome to Smashterpieces, a casual walk through the history of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster. My name is Joe.
And my name is Matt.
And if you're new here, what we are doing on the show is we're playing one game for every character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate from 1984's Duck Hunt to 2019's Fire Emblem Three Houses, except for today, when this is a bonus episode, where we just sort of play a game.
Usually games that are kind of related.
Yeah, they're kind of related, like they usually star characters in Smash, like this one does, because we're here to talk about the 2002 Game Boy Advance game, Metroid Fusion.
Did you know this game was released on the same day as Metroid Prime?
I think I did know that, because they were worried that a first-person shooter Metroid would make people mad, like Metroid fans mad, and so they were like, but well, we'll release a 2D one at the same time, and then it's like everybody gets what they want.
Yeah, this was kind of like the safety game in case Metroid Prime just like totally flopped. And it kind of, Fusion didn't flop, but it kind of ended up being the opposite, where it's like Prime is the one that everyone loves, and you don't really hear people talk about Fusion.
I had heard very little about Fusion up to this point. I had it for a while on my 3DS because it was one of the ambassador games for being one of the suckers that bought a 3DS on launch day. Don't recommend that experience. And so it's been sitting on my 3DS pretty much for like years, several years now, and I just never really loaded it up. And you mentioned it a couple of times, I think, during the Super Metroid episode, as one that I should give a shot. And then you chose this one to be a bonus episode. So we went ahead and just played it. And you should explain some about this game.
First, I feel like I need to publicly apologize to you because I totally forgot how hard this game is. Like, I've played it so much in my life that it's like I must have played this game like 20 times by now. So it's like it's all second nature to me. I don't think about the difficulty anymore because I beat every boss first try. And then like I hear you talking about it and I start getting flashbacks to like, oh, like as soon as you hit the midpoint of the game with the spider boss, every boss becomes ridiculously hard.
Yeah, it sure does.
So, Metroid Fusion. It is the direct follow-up to Super Metroid. It is currently the final chronological game in the Metroid timeline. And it begins with Samus on a mission to SR-388, the Metroid homeworld, which has now been overrun by something called the X Parasites, which Metroids were originally the natural predator of. So now with the Metroids gone, the X Parasites, which can infect and possess like literally anything, any organic life except Metroids, they have now overrun the planet. And Samus gets infected by one of the X Parasites. And her power suit, which is also partially organic, it also gets infected. It has to be surgically removed from her. So now she is dying in the intro. And she is saved by a vaccine that is developed, but with what little remains of the baby Metroid. So the baby Metroid effectively saves Samus's life a second time, and now her DNA is partially Metroid DNA now. So she has a natural immunity to X Parasites, and she actually absorbs them within herself to become more powerful. And that's the main way that you heal in this game, and also it's a way that you get new abilities. And Metroid Fusion, in addition to all of that, is also very different structurally from Super Metroid. It was designed to be very linear at the start. You're told exactly where to go, and it's pretty straightforward how to get there. And it's broken up into like distinct objectives. So the first half of the game is actually very unlike what we know a Metroid game to be now. And my opinion is that as the game goes on and as it opens up, those objectives start going off the rails a bit. And you start to go off script. It's kind of like Portal, where the game is effectively like a tutorial for the first huge chunk of it until suddenly you're released into the open world. Well, not really the open world in either of these games cases, but you get what I mean. The training wheels come off and now you're in the real game, which the entire thing up until this point was sort of training you for. And so I think that Fusion is pretty neat in that regards, in that it kind of tells it tells its story of, like, Samus going against her orders and uncovering sort of almost a conspiracy going on at the BSL station. It tells that through gameplay where you're actually literally breaking away from your objectives and making your own path in that way. And it also it works a lot for the general designing for the Game Boy Advance, where you would only be playing in like short bursts. So it directs you around for a little while and gives you things that you can get done very quickly and then put the game down. And to that end, there's save points all over this game, way more than in most Metroid games.
I don't know. I don't feel like there's more than I remember in Super Metroid. But again, Super Metroid was like almost 2 years ago at this point. So maybe I'm just completely remembering wrong. I kind of like that it's a little bit more linear. I don't think it's as conducive to like Metroid when it's this linear, but like for a quick play and for a system that runs on batteries, of course, I think that's kind of fitting because it's also really short, like really short.
Yeah. A first time playthrough is like 8 hours, maybe?
I'd say like, yeah, 8 sounds about right. Maybe a little bit less, maybe 6.
And once you're experienced with the game, like it took me like maybe 3.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that's like a really interesting take on Metroid, because I'm personally a little bit worried about how I'm going to feel about Metroid Prime overall, because I'm not usually a big fan of first-person shooters, but like Metroid Prime is like one of the good first-person shooters, so who knows. Meanwhile, like, I think Super is a better game than Fusion overall, because it relies more on a sense of exploration than Fusion does. And so I think that will probably help out with Metroid Prime when we get to it, because I think one of my main takeaways from this game was I like that a little bit better. It's a little bit more satisfying to me than the beginning of the game being like, go here, only here.
Yeah, and it's very much like go point A to point B at the beginning of Fusion. Like at one point, like you're even going places that you've already been to, and it's just like, yeah, you already know where this is, but just in case, let me tell you where it is again.
And it doesn't let you skip those instructions either. Like, those doors lock until you use the navigation.
It doesn't even let you skip them on a replay. Like, you can't even, like, skip the dialogue.
Jeez.
Which that, I think, they should have let you at least skip it on replay. That would have been nice.
The other thing about Metroid Fusion that is interesting is the SAX, who is an X Parasite that has basically possessed Samus's armor.
Yeah, well...
and has become Samus.
I use the word possess to refer to, like, what the X Parasites do, but it's not really...
They're more like mimics.
Yeah, they copy it, which is a big part of, like, why it's such a problem that they've overrun this station, because they've copied everything on it, and it's a biological research station, so, like, hey, there's a ton of alien species here for it to take over, and also all of the crew, so the X Parasites know everything.
And it's, so the SAX is, I kind of am a little bit disappointed in the SAX because I figured it was going to be something else. And by that I mean, so like the SAX is cool. It's a cool concept. I had kind of hoped sorta that it would be more like a wandering enemy type.
Something like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 Remake?
Something like Mr. X, yeah. Or like Nemesis, where it's like, it's here, and what you do with that, and like it could complicate things. Granted, I bet you anything if that was actually the case, they would have to make it like weaker, much weaker.
Yeah.
Because as it is, that the SAX can kill you in like 3 fucking shots.
I think the game does a decent job of like implying that the SAX is going around causing trouble, because when the first time you go to Sector 2 and like you go and get the upgrade there, and then like you turn around and oops, your door out has been destroyed. And that's the SAX is doing. You encounter it directly very rarely, but you feel its effects everywhere. And the way that like it's able to get around the station more easily than you kind of like does give that impression of like the full on power suit exploration version of Samus at her full power. And I think it's really cool to sort of the times that it does make you feel powerless against it. Maybe like the actual times, that one time you have to run away from it after fighting the spider boss, that part kind of sucks. But I really love the moment where like you go to like break open a block, and like it drops you down sort of like under the floor, and you go over to the other side of the room to like escape, and then the SAX just walks in. And that is one of my favorite moments in the game, because it walks in, it is an immediately recognizable problem, and then it drops a power bomb. I think that moment is really cool. And I think Fusion has like a lot of smaller storytelling moments like that I really like. Like I also really like that when you're going through Sector 5 for the first couple times, you can see the Nightmare flying around in the background just as a shadow.
Yeah.
I think this game has a really great sense of foreshadowing. Like even with the security robot, the first time you fight it, like as you damage it, it breaks open and you can see an organic brain within it, so that tells you it can get infected by the X Parasites, which it later is. It's stuff like that I think is really cool. And it's part of why even we kind of discovered this time going through, like, it's not necessarily a great Metroid game. The gameplay has some issues throughout, but the way that it handles atmosphere and foreshadowing and all of that, it's so cool to me, especially what it's able to do on a Game Boy Advance.
I would agree with that. When I say that the SAX kind of disappoints me that she's not actually like a wandering enemy, I agree that aesthetically and foreshadowing wise, like the game does a very, very good job of sort of setting up the SAX as a threat that is in fact walking around the station.
You wish it was a little more scripted, or a little less scripted rather?
Yeah, I think it would be more interesting were it less scripted. And honestly, again, if it was unscripted and still as strong as it is, this game would be unplayable.
A little bit.
Absolutely unplayable. Because, again, like I said, she can kill you in like 3 shots. 3 fucking shots. And you're just gone. But other than that, like, I think that would have been really interesting. I think aesthetically, this game is stronger than Super Metroid. I think that's the one spot where I think this game outshines Super Metroid. Like, I like a lot of the boss designs. Like, Nightmare is a really, really cool boss design. I had technically seen him in other Metroid games where you mentioned it doesn't make sense that he's in them, and now I understand why. But, like, Nightmare is a very cool looking boss. I like Ridley's design in this game, despite the fact that, like, his boss is basically just copy-pasted from Super Metroid. Like, it's just the same boss.
It's also funny that, like, they found a way to get Ridley back into the game even though he's dead.
Yeah, even though it doesn't make sense.
Which, that's another great moment of foreshadowing, too.
Yeah. There are 2 moments of foreshadowing for me, because I walked into the cold storage area before I was technically supposed to go through there, and saw him and went, oh, cool, well, we'll deal with that later, I'm sure, and then walked away. So, like, yeah, aesthetically, this game is very strong. I hate every single boss fight. Except for Ridley, because, again, Ridley is just copy-pasted from Metroid, from Super Metroid.
I can't really say that, like, I hate every single boss fight, but I also don't have an accurate way to judge them because, like I said, I played this game when it first released and have played it 20, 30 times maybe since then. I don't know what it's like to fight these bosses for the first time. And to that end, I don't know if I've always known how to beat them, so I don't know if they're good or bad. But I definitely can see how, like, this is a difficult game. Like, shockingly so.
The only boss that didn't give me, like, immense amounts of trouble was the that weird suction cup boss.
Yeah, the one you get the high jump from.
Yeah, and instead of being, you know, like a boss I hate, it's just boring. That boss is really boring.
I would agree with that, yeah.
He's like, there's nothing to him. It's just get under him and shoot. All right, wait till he finishes jumping and get under him and shoot. And it's just, there's nothing to it. And like Nightmare, again, aesthetically, super cool boss. Hated fighting him. That the arena that he's in doesn't feel big enough.
Yeah, it feels like it's supposed to be able to scroll further to the right.
Yeah, and it feels like he is much bigger than he's supposed to be. If he was like maybe 2/3 of the size he is now, I think that would fix a lot of my issues with Nightmare. But the fact is, like, in that second phase when he just sort of tracks you and ping-pongs around the room, like, dodging him is so fucking difficult because you just don't have room to maneuver. And I don't know, I just didn't like it. And also, Yakuza is probably my least favorite boss in any game I've ever played. Probably not that far, but that boss sucks.
I remember when I was a kid, that boss, like, that was a wall that I couldn't get over for a while.
It's not great. I was not a fan of that boss. The fact that he can just fucking grab you and then he lifts you up, and as far as I could tell, there was no way to get out of it early. I tried struggling as much as I fucking could, but couldn't. And then he drops you, and that does an insane amount of damage. And your, like, invincibility is sometimes not long enough that he can't just immediately grab you again.
I'm looking at, like, my footage of fighting it right now, and, like, it looks like I was able to escape him by just, like, wiggling.
That's what I tried to do. It never worked for me.
I just muscle memory through that fight every time, and so, like, I'm not conscious of what I'm doing. But it's like, I ended up taking, like, maybe 50 damage total from it grabbing me.
I'm pretty sure I was down to, like, 13 damage by the time I actually managed to beat him. And just, it's stuff like that, where it's just like, I don't feel like there was enough maneuvering room for a lot of these bosses. And I think that's really what it comes down to for most of them. Like, that plant boss fucking sucks. Oh my god.
Yeah, that one doesn't get any better when you're good at it. It's just, like, when you're good at it, it's just boring.
And, like, that one snake boss, I think, moves a little too fast. The lava snake? Yeah, Saris.
Lava snake?
Maybe it wasn't a lava snake. I don't remember. It might have been a water snake.
The Shine Spark one?
I don't think it was Shine Spark. I don't remember what it gives you. It might give you Turbo.
Yeah, that's Shine Spark.
Know. Yeah, yeah, that boss. He, like, I don't think that boss is super difficult. He moves really fucking fast, and it's really hard to dodge him, which I don't think is inherently an issue. Like, just learn how to dodge him. I think thinking back, that one I kind of like. I think that boss is fine.
Learn how to dodge him is kind of tough when he moves so fast and your screen space is so small.
I think that's another thing that sort of makes these bosses more frustrating than they need to be, is I feel like they designed bosses like they would in Super Metroid, which you could play on a television, but forgot that a Game Boy Advance's screen is far smaller than a television. So it just for a lot of them that like maneuver that fast and move that quickly, it just has this feeling of like, well, how the fuck was I supposed to see that and dodge that?
Yeah.
Like it came from off screen faster than any. How could I possibly react to that? So, I don't know. I think this game is good. I think that it has great atmosphere. Boy, howdy, I hated almost every single boss.
Yeah, I would say that, again, I cannot tell how I really feel about the bosses because, 20 years now of experience with this game has just forever biased me.
Well, it's like me with Donkey Kong 64, where it's like you're having problems that are alien to me now because I've been playing that game since 1998.
Yeah, but it's like as soon as you started having trouble with it started telling me, I was like, oh yeah, now I remember. This game's really hard.
So yeah, those are my main thoughts on the game, I think.
There is a rather obvious elephant in the room with regards to talking about Metroid Fusion. And that is one Adam Malkovich.
Oh, God. Right.
So, I'm not gonna say...
Playing this game in a post-Other M world was fucking weird.
You like that line where he's just like, would Adam sit in a safe command room and order you to die? Evidently, yeah. He would do exactly that.
The question should have been, would Adam make you walk through a horribly hot lava area and not give you permission to turn on the fucking Varia suit, even though you definitely have the ability to do so? Apparently, yes.
So I'm not gonna say that, like, the twist at the end, okay, spoilers if you give a shit about Metroid Fusion's story.
I think the twist sucks. I think it's stupid.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's particularly good or unique, but the idea of Adam Malkovich, the character, as someone in Samus's backstory was in 2002, kind of an interesting thing. You know, a mentor figure who died and left her disillusioned so that she left the Galactic Federation. That was a fairly interesting setup. And that's why when Metroid Other M was first announced with clear callbacks to Fusion, it was kind of exciting. That first trailer for Metroid Other M it got me very excited. And then the game was released. And
then you played it.
Not only was it kind of terrible, and ruined the idea of Adam Malkovich forever, but it also just kind of feels like they wanted to do Fusion again.
The whole thing, the reason Adam comes up in this game, for, again, spoilers if you care, I doubt you would have listened 25 minutes into this episode if you cared, or if you didn't care. You know what I mean, if you cared about spoilers. You have a computer, sort of an AI that is your quote unquote commanding officer who gives you your objectives and stuff. And Samus internally refers to him as Adam, named after Adam Malkovich. And she tells little by little throughout the game the story of Adam and his impact on her past. And then at the end you find out that actually the AI was Adam's brain uploaded to make an AI, and fuck you.
It's such a contrived twist. It is stupid.
Like, fuck off. That's stupid. That's so dumb. That actively ruined it. Like, yeah. The instant he says any objections, lady, I was like, that's fucking stupid. How about fuck you?
I can only imagine that it is even worse, having played Other M before this game and having these preconceived notions of Adam.
A little bit, yeah. I didn't expect the AI to just be him, though. Like, that's so dumb. It's so dumb.
It's a choice. It is a choice. But I think while that does suck, the very last thing of the animals from Super Metroid being like the ones that flew the ship in to save you, that was, I think, a much better sort of little reveal and callback to Super Metroid.
See, I expected the when I got into the hangar and the ship was gone, I was like, ah, fuck, the SAX totally got in the ship and left. I was for a second thinking like, oh shit, is this gonna have like a really ominous ending? Because that'd be kind of neat. But I like where it actually ended up going. Yeah, I agree. That was good. I like that.
Yeah. But like looking at this game and with Other M just like clearly wanting to be Fusion, like it's the same setup. You've got a biological research facility with these simulated environments in it. You've got a government conspiracy that retroactively makes Fusion even dumber, because why would Samus ever work with the Galactic Federation again after Other M? You've got Adam Malkovich involved. You've got a clone of Ridley. You've got fucking Nightmare.
Yeah, like they even brought in Nightmare, who specifically in this game, they're like, yeah, he was a weapon being built at this facility. Then why the fuck was he on the bottle ship? What? Be consistent with your own fucking lore.
Like, I guess that Other M sort of resolves a quote-unquote plot hole, because, like, how did they get Ridley's remains off of planet Zebes before it blew up? And you see Ridley's corpse is gone in the post-game for Other M. But it's like, was it worth it? Was it worth all this other shit? Like, actually, why would Samus ever work with the Federation again after Other M? Because turns out, hey guys, we're breeding Metroids again. It's the same plot.
It's the same plot. Also, it's even down to, we're on a ship that's like a biological research facility. Even that part's the exact fucking same.
It's just that this time they foreshadowed it better, because like the Adam AI brings up the very pertinent question of, hey, why do you think we simulated this exact planet's atmosphere in Sector 1? Because that's where Metroids lived. Like the we're breeding Metroids twist is set up so much better in Fusion. And it's great that it's one that you actually, like, get to deal with well, no, you don't get to deal with the consequences, because the Adam AI just ejects the part of the ship, which that's in Other M2. That's what Adam does. It's how Adam dies.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure is, isn't it?
And it's just so frustrating. Like, because like we said, like, the atmosphere and story of this game is probably its strongest point, and it's all kind of retroactively ruined by Other M. Because Other M is just the same story, and it's also much more well-known. So no one is going to go back and play Fusion without being aware of all this bullshit in Other M.
Pretty much. That's, it's a shame.
And it also kind of sucks that, like, Fusion is chronologically the final Metroid game. We've never had a follow-up to it.
That's true. Though I'm pretty alright with that, because I don't like the fusion suit, and a follow-up would include the fusion suit. I think the fusion suit's ugly. I get that it's kind of supposed to look, like you described it as, it's kind of supposed to look wrong, but I just think it's ugly. I think it's ugly.
Well, guess what you can unlock in Metroid Prime?
The fusion suit?
Yep.
Cool. Well, at least in Metroid Prime, they have the decency to not make you look at it, because it's a first-person game. So, we should start wrapping up, but first, we should talk about some of the music on the soundtrack, though we were both talking about it before we started, like, recording, and we both kind of agree that the soundtrack of this game's fine.
It's a bit weak.
It's a little bit weak, yeah. It's fine. but it's not great. I only have 2 tracks that stood out to me entirely. The first one being Sector 4.
This one's pretty alright.
I think it's got like it's sort of got a groove to it. Not really, but like, you get what I mean. It feels more like a memorable tune than most of the other songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah, I think it also, like, it works for its theme really well, in, like, without just kind of, like, being noise. Because that's what I feel like a lot of the Sector themes are. Sector 3 especially kind of just ends up feeling like that.
Yeah. Like, I even looking over the soundtrack before we recorded, I was just like, I barely remember, like, any of these songs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just any of them.
And I guess while I'm talking about songs that are, like, kind of weak, like, even the Ridley theme's kind of weak in this game.
Which is a crime, honestly. A real crime.
You said you had one other track, though?
I do have one other track, and that's the Nightmare boss fight music.
Yeah, I forget about this one a lot, but this one is actually really good.
Like, it feels kind of like, it's not what you'd expect from a boss fight theme in a Metroid game, or any game, really. It's just sort of kind of unsettling and weird, and I just sort of dig it a lot. I like this song a lot.
Now I have to check if the other M version is a remix of this.
No, I remember it being much more high energy.
Yeah, this is just like cinematic scoring generic trash.
Sounds about right. I think there's like 2 songs on the other M soundtrack that I actually really like, and that's it.
But yeah, Nightmare's whole aesthetic is really cool, and I think this music plays into it really well. It helps that unsettling feeling, because there is something very clearly not right about Nightmare. Like literally its face melts over the course of the fight.
Yeah, it's a weird boss, and I just totally dig this track.
I would say that I think there are also 2 tracks that are probably worth noting. The first one it's called Facing a Huge Reaction.
certainly hear this one a lot.
Yeah, this is not literally the main theme of Metroid Fusion, but I feel like it might as well be for how often it plays. And it's a decent song.
I agree. It kind of reminds me of Samus's theme from Super Metroid, but only a little bit. It has the same tone.
Yeah. And the other song, this is the only song from this game to have made it into Smash Brothers. So I guess that means it's the best song in the game. But it's the Sector 1 theme. And I also just realized for the first time that this is the song that's playing in the prologue as well, when Samus is talking about the mission to SR-388, which makes sense because Sector 1 is a recreation of SR-388's environment.
Mm-hmm. I had forgotten that the song was in Smash. Side note, before we wrap up completely, looking at the YouTube video that I'm watching to make sure I'm talking about the right songs while we talk about them. The fusion suit, because it's more skin tight, puts more emphasis on Samus's boobs, and that actually bothers me a lot.
I'm definitely not looking at the same one that you're looking at.
Hold on, I'll send you the specific video. Because it's a lot less bulky than her actual suit, which, again, is much cooler.
Oh, that is specifically not art from Fusion. I've seen this before.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Let me see if I can show you the official art from Fusion. Because the box art, she's like kind of kneeling down, so you can't really see very well. But this is Fusion's official art.
Okay, so it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's still, like, weirdly skin tight in certain spots, but not as bad as before. See, when it's drawn like this, I don't mind it that much. I just hate the colors. I hate the colors. They just don't look good.
They're very loud colors.
And also her weird Batman gauntlet on her fucking right arm or left arm.
What, like the spikes?
Yeah.
Well, that's like a Metroid's fangs.
I guess it looks like Batman. Am I wrong?
Well, because like she's supposed to like resemble a Metroid more. And like, look, there's this art of the fusion suit from behind. You can see like the three nuclei of the Metroid.
See, I don't mind it when it's like drawn out like this. Again, it's just the colors. I hate the colors. They look stupid, and I don't like the fusion suit. I start to get marginally less angry about the fusion suit once you get the Varia suit and she's orange again.
Well, no, the Varia suit's green.
Which one makes her orange?
You have that one at the very end after you absorb the SAX and get the ice beam.
Ah.
Here's all four of them.
That's what I'm thinking of then.
The Varia suit is green and magenta. The gravity suit is purple and blue. And then the final suit, which I don't think has a name, resembles her power suit in color.
And it's a much better color palette. All the rest are ugly. They're all ugly.
I like the gravity suit.
The gravity suit is the least ugly, but I still don't like it.
And I think that the Varia suit is so ugly that it goes back around the dial to the other side, and it's incredible.
I agree to disagree on that. I have nothing else to say about Metroid Fusion. It's fine. I don't think I'm going to play it again. I think I'm good, but I'm glad I gave it a shot.
I think it's a good stepping stone, since we're on our way to eventually our next Metroid game is going to be Zero Mission. This, I think, is a good... No, our next game is going to be Prime.
Yeah, our next one's Prime and then Zero Mission.
but we are going to play Zero Mission. It's good to sort of see this game in between Super Metroid and Zero Mission, so you can kind of see the progression of 2D Metroid to be more like it is now. And I believe by the end of this, you will have played, because you did play the remake of Metroid 2 before we started Smashterpieces.
I did not.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you did.
I did not play Samus Returns, no.
Well then, I thought you had.
No, Super Metroid was the first Metroid game I ever finished. Or, not counting Other M.
Okay, well, Samus Returns is pretty good. So, maybe someday you'll go back and learn more about her mission to genocide the Metroids.
We would all be so lucky.
Here, let me show you the Metroid Prime version of the Fusion suit. Does this look any better?
No. Well, I think changing the color to be to be green instead of yellow in the middle, unless that's just the lighting.
I think that's just the lighting.
That makes it a little bit better, but no, I still don't like it.
What about the Fusion suit in Samus Returns?
No, it's bad. The Fusion suit is so ugly. I hate it so much.
Yeah, by the end of this, I guess you won't have played every Metroid game in some fashion besides Prime 3, but you'll have had every step along the way. And I think Fusion, while it's not a perfect game, it was a very good stepping stone. And it sort of fixed the one thing I didn't like about Super Metroid's controls. It made the missiles a hold on the R button instead of a toggle with the select button, which I think really helps the minute-to-minute pacing of the controls feel a lot better.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that's just a little bit more convenient than having it be like a press.
Yeah, and I've kind of said, I don't really feel like Super Metroid needs a remake, but if there was one thing that they could ever change, that's the one thing I'd like them to change. So,
well, I think that about wraps it up. I assume this is probably going out between Majora and Banjo, if I had to take a guess, because Banjo's probably going to take us a few weeks. We haven't started Banjo yet when we're recording this. Don't tell anyone.
I mean, we're about to.
But, yeah, we're about to start Banjo. We're going to start Banjo soon.
This is the least in advance we've ever recorded a bonus episode.
Pretty much. So, you can follow us on Twitter at Smashterpieces. You can follow us on YouTube at Smashterpieces. You can follow me on Twitter at Tedabage. You can follow Matt at Grimace Do Menace. You can find our episodes on anondino.squarespace.com, which you can also find a link to direct downloads and stuff that will lead you to the Squarespace site over on NintendoWorldReport.com, which is one of the places that we are hosted, kind of, sort of. I mean, we're technically hosted there. Not really, though. You get what I mean. You can also follow our editor, Peter, on Twitter at Pete Speakeasy. He doesn't edit the bonus episodes. Matt does that. But
Peter does a lot of work for us.
Yeah, you can still go follow him. Tell him he's cool. I do another show with him on Anon Dino called Original Sound Chat. If you like the part of this show where we talk about the soundtracks of the games, it's basically a whole show of that. And if you like that, then you'll like Original Sound Chat. And that's basically all. I can't think of anything else. We stream at twitch.tv/Nintendo World Report every Thursday. But not the bonus games. We don't stream the bonus games. So, yeah. One of these days I'll write out an actual outro so it is consistent every episode. But that day is not today.
Yeah, it's subtly different every time.
Yeah. And so with that, my name is Joe.
And my name is Matt.
And we will see you next time for whatever game we're talking about. Bye.